Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reef, and today we're going to be doing another Dead by Daylight tier list. This is going to be based on how fun the killers are to play, based on my personal experience and my personal opinion. So if your opinion differs from mine, that is perfectly fine. And if you have a favorite killer, please tell me that in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Some of these killers can be super fun to play, and that's mostly what we're going to be ranking them off of, not how good they are or how likely they are to win, but just how fun they are to play. And I'm going to be taking into consideration pretty much just their base kit, not going with extra add-ons because add-ons can change killers immensely. So we're going to be going killer by killer here, but I do have to exclude Nemesis from this because I have not played Nemesis yet. I don't own him currently, plan on getting him sometime soon and trying him out, as well as whenever Pinhead comes out I will get him too and we can test those out, and then I will probably remake this list with new opinions. Same with if any of the killers get changed in the future based on whatever their kit is or potentially add-ons. Maybe we'll do funnest killers with add-ons too. Anyway, let's begin. First up, we have Trapper. And Trapper without add-ons is pretty bad to play. It's not super fun to play him. Assuming you are running add-ons, let's just say you're running a bag with Trapper because that's kind of a necessity. Let's just say you're running a brown bag. This will be like the one exception I have to taking a killer with add-ons. So at least you can carry around traps. Trapper can be really fun. He can also be really frustrating though too, because your power is solely based on if people are going to end up running into your traps or not. And that requires both map knowledge as well as survivors either being preoccupied or just simply not seeing your traps. And if you have survivors that are running around, especially with the pink maps, they can see your traps. As well as if your traps are in somewhat open locations, they can be disarmed really easily. And Trapper is also subject to RNG of the map. Not necessarily just which map you get, but also where your traps spawn. Because sometimes there's bugs that go on where you can't get to your traps, or your traps are off on a hill on the other side of the map that you're never going to go to. So you might be limited there. So even though Trapper can be really fun, he can also be really frustrating. And I would probably put Trapper, I'd probably put him into B tier. Probably on the very low end of B tier though, because the frustration can get really high with Trapper. Up next we have Wraith, and Wraith is another killer that I find to be pretty fun, especially now that he's been buffed. He used to not be all that fun for me, I would say, without add-ons. He definitely needed add-ons. Now he doesn't. Add-ons do help him a lot, but he doesn't really need them now. He can roam around the map really quick. You can sneak up on people. So I'd put Wraith probably right up into B tier with Trapper. He is pretty fun. I do enjoy playing him quite a bit. Next we have Huntress. Huntress I enjoy too. The hatchets are really fun to be throwing, especially if you land a few hatchets across the map. That is really cool. You have some interesting gameplay where you can ready up a hatchet around a corner and throw it preemptively, figuring somebody will be cutting around that corner at the time. Or if you catch people out in the open, you can, you can pretty easily hit them with your hatchets because you can just wind up until there's pretty much no dodging it. And Huntress is probably one of the more fun killers, I would say. I would put her up into A tier. I always have fun playing her. Next we have Bubba, Leatherface. Leatherface is also really fun to play. I really enjoy playing him. It's very fun to be chasing people around with the chainsaw. So long as you're not in a really cluttered map. Really cluttered maps are kind of annoying with Bubba because you just bump into everything, especially if the doors are a little bit too narrow, or if you come downstairs and you end up bumping your head on something that you didn't even see there. All of those are rather annoying to play with Bubba, but for the most part, Bubba does well on most maps, and he's pretty fun just with his base kit. I would put him up into A tier. The main problem with Bubba is you could always just face camp with him, which is really strong with Bubba, and that's a pretty annoying way to play, but we're not going to be taking into account how well you can camp people, at least in this tier list. Maybe we'll do it in another one. Up next, we got the Doctor, and the Doctor, I don't really find all that fun to play. You just kind of follow people around and zap them until they're at an unsafe window or an unsafe pallet, and then you smack them. That's pretty much all it is. It's kind of fun to be zapping people multiple times, and some of his add-ons do make him a little bit better with that, but with his base kit, it's not something super special, and I usually don't play him all that much. I would probably put Doctor probably into D tier. Next up, we got Freddy, and Freddy's base kit is honestly pretty boring. Having no terror radius and being able to teleport around the map, that is actually pretty fun because you can go around wide angles and sneak up on people, and I always enjoy doing that. Just the regular chasing Freddy, if you actually want to win with Freddy, usually the best way to do it is just chase somebody to a loop, put a blood pool on one side, put a blood pool on the other side, chase them to one side so they step in it, chase them back around so they step in the other one and hit them. That's usually the way that you play Freddy, and that's not all that entertaining. It can be really boring. If you're playing the Dream Palette Freddy, that is actually a lot funner, And then it's even more fun to be kind of like teleporting around and setting up a maze, similar to like how Trapper plays where you set up traps for somebody. But base kit Freddy is not super fun. I would probably put him down into D tier as well. Next we have the Pig, and the Pig can be really fun. You can do some really cool dashes. I like using her dash mechanic. Her traps are also pretty fun to use. Her stealth is always fun to sneak up on people and stab them. I would probably put the Pig into like B tier. The only thing that's kind of frustrating with Pig is that both of her powers are kind of inconsistent. Her dash doesn't always get you around loops so that you can hit people easily, as well as if people leave the loops, it might be hard to see them because you're crouched below them. And if your traps just keep getting disarmed immediately, you don't really have any slowdown from it, and matches can go either really well for you, really bad, or somewhere in the middle for Pig. It's just really inconsistent with Pig, so I figure B tier here. Up next we have Clown. Clown is another killer that isn't incredibly strong. He's similar to Freddy, and he actually plays pretty much the same way at any sort of pallets, but you don't have the low terror radius, and you don't have the teleporting that Freddy does, which does make Freddy better and probably more fun in that regard. Clown, you usually just throw a poison bottle at one side of the loop, and then you throw an invigoration bottle at your feet. You wait to get invigorated, you run around the loop, and you hit somebody. That's about it. If you go with the Pinky Finger Clown, it can be a little bit more fun, because then you're at least trying to land your bottles directly on somebody. Same with if you go kind of with the confetti bottles. At least then you get the effect from it, so it's kind of fun to chuck bottles at people. I think it's kind of funny, at least, to, throw a bottle at the back of Bill's head. But, yeah, probably also into D tier with Clown. Next we have Hag, and Hag can be kind of similar to Trapper, where you can set up your web of traps. You can have people walk into them, but if people are smart and either come harass you right away, or if it just ends up being really bad RNG on your part and survivors are able to move around your traps pretty easily, you can feel like you're not doing a whole lot. And that's kind of the problem I have with Hag, is that a lot of her games go for a long time. They're kind of slow, and you don't feel like you're doing a whole lot of the time. You just hope that people are stepping in your traps so you can blink over and smack them. So I'd probably put Hag into C tier. She can be fun, but not always the most fun. Up next we got Billy, and Billy might be one of the funnest killers to play in general, because even when I'm doing bad with Billy, I still really enjoy playing him. You can take off sprinting all the way across the map. You have so much move speed with him that you can just get anywhere, and it feels really good to chainsaw somebody down, especially if you run all the way across the map and just run into somebody randomly. That is probably the best feeling. As well as his chainsaw can be really fun to use in chase, because you're just either, you can bait the chainsaw, you can put your back against a window or something and block a window with the chainsaw before you chainsaw somebody. Same with a pallet. You can do a lot of things with Billy, and it's really fun once you get the hang of it. So I'd probably put Billy up into S tier. Up next we have Spirit, and Spirit is another killer that I don't find super fun to play. It can be kind of funny to just, be running around the map randomly and finding people, because it kind of terrifies them as you smack them. So if you can hear really well, Spirit does really well, but you don't feel like you're doing a whole lot with that. So I'd probably put Spirit into, I guess, C tier. Probably on the low end of C tier, teetering on D tier. Next we have Legion. Legion's another killer that can be kind of fun depending on the map. If you have a good map where you have a lot of windows, a lot of pallets, something like Treatment Theater or something like that, where you can actually run and jump and climb all around and use your power quite a bit, he can be pretty fun, especially if people keep grouping up. But otherwise, if you're playing against a good team that's never going to do that, they're always going to spread out, you don't really feel like you're doing a whole lot with Legion. And Legion is not one of my favorite killers to play a lot of the time, so I'd probably put him into D tier as well. Next we have Plague. Plague can actually be pretty fun, especially if you keep getting your Corrupt Plague. You can vomit for quite a ways to hit people with it, and it feels really good to get these really long range hits with her vomit. You can also do it over certain loops, which also feels really good. Her regular power is pretty fun to use too, especially if you can body block somebody and vomit on them. So I think I'd put Plague in B tier, I would say. Yeah, probably in B tier. I think that's where she goes. Next we have the Nurse, and the Nurse can feel super fun, especially if you're getting constant blinks and able to hit people, or if you're spinning as you hit people and stuff like that. You're just getting a whole lot of hits in. She can also feel really frustrating, at least for somebody like me who's not very good with Nurse, where you're missing so many shots. You're blinking past people, you're blinking through objects you didn't think that you could. You're blinking, a bit short, and you're just bumping into stuff. That can all be kind of annoying with Nurse. But for the most part, I usually have fun with Nurse, so I'd probably put her into B tier as well. Next we have Michael. Michael can be fun. It depends. I like to get up to the tier 3 with him, stalk people, and then stab them, insta-down them. you become pretty terrifying as you chase people around, and it is pretty funny to jump scare people with Michael too, because even in tier 1 you can still sneak up and jump scare people. Even in tier 2 and tier 3 you can, because Michael has such a small terror radius, and if you're running something like Modern or Abuse, it's even smaller, so you can get very close to people very quickly and see them take off running. Although the fun is kind of limited to that with Michael. It's just mostly jump scaring people, and that's about it, because other than that, you're usually just chasing people normally, and a lot of his chases are a little bit boring, because the best way to play against Michael is you throw down the pallet as soon as he gets there, and then you just wait for him to break it, or you run around the loop until he either hits you and then you go to another one, or he breaks it and you go to another one anyway. So Michael, I think I'd put up into the high end of C tier, I think. I don't know. Sometimes he can be super fun. Sometimes he can be kind of underwhelming. Next we have Ghostface. Ghostface can be pretty fun too. I like stalking people. I like the crouching mechanic that Ghostface has, similar to like the pig, except for Ghostface is a little bit quicker on doing it, so you can do some more kind of funny movements as you go after people. I would probably put Ghostface into B tier as well. He's a pretty fun killer to play. Oh, we got Demo next. Demo, even though I'm not that great at Demo because I haven't played him a whole lot, it is super fun. I like his portals. I like his shred. You can leap yourself off of like giant buildings. Like if you go on to like if you go on to like the saloon, fling yourself across the map. That's super fun to do. Portals are always fun, and Demo's always a fun killer to play, so I would put him probably into A tier as well. And Oni is another really fun killer. Recently I've been playing him quite a bit more, and I really enjoy him. I like his power. The only problem with Oni is that sometimes you don't get your power quickly, and indoor maps are kind of an issue for you because you can't easily maneuver around them with your dash. So then you're just resorting to using your big old Kanabo stick to smack somebody once, as you pretty much just chase them around normally. And that's not super fun. It's more fun to take off running across the map, smash somebody, or smash two people. So when you can do that, it is super fun, but it is a little bit restricted. I would put Oni probably up into A tier as well. Next we have Deathslinger, and Deathslinger can be pretty fun to play. I know he's not very fun to play against though. Small terror radius, you can shoot people. Since I play a decent amount of FPS games, he's not that difficult for me to pick up and use. Yeah, I'd probably put Deathslinger actually up into A tier in terms of fun to play. I know he's not very fun to play against, and we'll do another list later on that will be just that of all the killers and how fun they are to play against. Next we got Pyramid Head, and Pyramid Head, he can be fun. It is fun to be caging people. I like his executions. I like the way that you can chase people, especially with dragging it across the ground, but his play in loops is a little bit limited because usually you just drag the sword around through the loop and then force people to either run through it or to leave, or if you get them to an unsafe place, then you pretty much just sit there and keep throwing the lines out to try to hit people and injure them, and that can be not super fun. So I'd probably put Pyramid Head somewhere in the middle of B tier. He is fun. Next we have Twins, and Twins kind of varies for me because if you're playing them in the effective way, Twins is extremely boring to play because it's pretty much you're just constantly camping and tunneling people, and that's not really a fun thing to do. Because you put Charlotte somewhere near a hook that you've recently hooked somebody, you send out Victor, you go try to hit them. Or if somebody gets off the hook, you send out Victor, you go and down them. It's just not like a super fun way to play them. If you play them as, you run out, go hit people, harass people with Victor or something, then run up and hit them with Charlotte and things like that, it can be kind of fun then. Because at least then you're doing something a little bit different, but constant camping and tunneling, that isn't super fun. So I'd put the Twins probably into D tier as well. Ooh, Blight is super fun. I really enjoy Blight. With Blight, you pretty much just take off running, you bounce around the walls. This is really good unless you're in an indoor map, and then it's really frustrating to use this. For whatever reason, I keep getting Treatment Theater with Blight, and maybe it's just because I notice it more because it feels like you're never using your power or barely using your power, just because there's so much stuff to bounce on that it's usually just best to walk up and smack somebody. But on wide open maps, Blight is super fun to use. I always have fun matches with Blight, so I would put him up into S tier 2 with Billy. Then we got Trickster, and Trickster can be kind of fun. It depends. If it's like a big open map, Trickster can be pretty fun. You can throw your knives pretty far and try hitting people a couple of times. It's not going to be as good as hitting something like the Huntress Hatchet, and using his main event ability can be really fun to use. But a lot of the time, I end up having to use it when people are just like hook diving, more or less. When you hook somebody and then there's 2 or 3 survivors that immediately want to run to it, and you have main event up, so why would you not use it and just down everybody then? it just ends up being more like that, which is kind of annoying to use it that way. It's more fun to actually use it out in the open when you're just trying to chuck knives at everybody trying to run away or something. Trickster can be fun, but he can also be a little bit frustrating. I'd put him probably into B tier as of right now. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these. Special thanks to all of the supporters of the channel. These are my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over there on Patreon. If you'd like to be a part of either of those, there are links down in the description for that. You get early access to some of these videos. And if you'd like to see some more of my Dead by Daylight content, be sure to click over here on this list right now. That'll take you to them. Thanks, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!